first time I had the opportunity to hear Mario Lanza's voice, it was in Barcelona, in my hometown. I was 6 years old, and I went to the cinema with my parents. And it happened that the film that we saw, it was The Great Caruso, starring Mario Lanza. I was immediately captivated by his charismatic way of smiling and talking, and of course his wonderful way of singing. And next day I went home and I started to sing the same songs I heard in his movie. And from this very moment I wanted to become a singer, to become an opera singer. Now I want to pay a tribute to Mario Lanza, to the man and to the artist. He deserved to be remembered with a lot of affection and love. And this is what I would like to do.
There's a film that influenced you, and maybe not curiously enough, but it also had an impact on Pavarotti, Domingo and Carreras. And that was Mario Lanza in The Great Caruso. Can you remember when you saw it, and how old you were, and what impact it did have on you?
I remember vividly exactly how it happened. I was, as I was saying, listening to the Beatles and to even heavy metal, Metallica at the time, AC/DC, Deep Purple, Nirvana, Bing Crosby, Elvis. My musical tastes were spread all over. But at the time it was going through particular heavy metal, rock, heavy music. Ozzy Osbourne, and that kind of music. And my uncle said, "I'm fed up of you and your devil music," as he used to call it. I have found this old movie.
This is when you were about 13?
13, yeah, 12, 13, something like that. I think 13. And it was a VHS cassette at the time. This was before, of course, the DVD. And he pushed it in the VCR, and this very handsome man came on the screen. And the first singing he does in the movie is not... he doesn't sing opera or arias. He vocalizes, because he's carrying sacks of grain, of flour, in the pizza restaurant, in the Italian trattoria, whatever it is. And they ask him, there are singers from the Metropolitan, would you sing for them? I said, too much flour in the throat, and then they give him wine, and he starts singing, and he does, I think an arpeggio, and more wine, and he goes even higher. So I immediately said, A, this is amazing voice. B, wine equals great singing. So a few years later, but months later, and this is not for TV. This is true. I went to my mother, and at the age of 14, this was a year later. I was 6 foot, so looked much older. Could have passed easily for an 18-year-old. So I went to my mom. I said, "Mom, I have choir practice today." I had joined an opera choir at the time, and I need wine. She said, "You're 14, I'm not gonna give you wine." I said, "Mom, Mario Lanza, Great Caruso, do you know better than Mario Lanza, than Enrico Caruso?" She said, "Okay, you can have some in a small plastic bottle." Can you imagine the ramifications and consequences that would have in our, politically correct, everything has to be perfect day and age. So yes, then when they saw me, swigging Cabernet during practice, people were like, "Young man, do you have a problem or what's going on?" I said, no, wine is not good for the voice. Forget about it. It's good in between shows, maybe, but not. So anyway.
But get back to that. What was it about you chose to say you came from heavy metal to Mario Lanza and The Great Caruso. You've been singing in choirs. It was the Beatles. It was what a normal, active, intelligent, curious boy of your age would be doing. Then Mario Lanza had a real impact on you. Can you develop that for us a bit? Can you remember more about it than just what a singer?
Simple. I was listening to, for example, at the time I mentioned Metallica, Nothing Else Matters. So close, no matter how far, couldn't be much. And then suddenly I was listening to someone going to Si come sorille tu tiene navu quella no poco rille a passugliatella. So anyone would agree that the second type of voice is absolutely, it's like comparing a supernova with a measly meteorite. I mean, it's just this is so much fuller, better, more beautiful. And Mario Lanza was gifted with one of the most beautiful voices ever to grace any man's throat in any period. And it had the impact on me. I want to sing like that. Chances had it, the odds, that I had a voice like that. Otherwise, I would have been a very frustrated singer.
There was also around Lanza, because I saw that film as well, there was also around Mario Lanza an extraordinary glamour. He sort of Hollywood, but also of his own. He was a unique figure. It was the first great film about an opera singer. He burst onto the world scene. As I've said, it's you, it's Pavarotti, it's Domingo, it's Qureshi. All of you were knocked sideways by this. So it was his personality as well as his voice? It was his looks as well as his personality as well as his voice?
More parallel with his voice, because his voice was really extraordinary, and his charisma, which he had in spades. He wasn't particularly, I think, an amazing actor, but the charisma just made up for any kind of shortcomings he had in that department. But the sheer charisma and the sheer beauty of the voice, coupled with the story. In some of the stories, he sort of played himself, so it made it possible for young singers, for us, you mentioned the young Pavarotti, the young Domingo, the young Carreras, and the young me. This is possible. It gave us a possible realization to our dream.
He had that what Caruso had, and Caruso is today famous not because of beautiful voice, because you cannot recognize the real voice through a microphone, particularly not on the old recordings, which are doctored up now completely, where a modern engineer, by turning a dial, can make out of a small voice a big voice. I think. He had the most brilliant, natural, broad voice without limitation, and he has a natural peasant aggressiveness, which is so good in Caruso's recording, because what the Caruso recording made famous was not the quality of the voice, but this vitality, this tremendous vitality he had. And that Mario absolutely had. And he would really had become what already his neighbors in Philadelphia said, an American Caruso.
And then Mario Lanza, for me, also it was very sad. In a way, it was a parallel life, like with Elvis Presley. In a way, it's very comparable. He has the most incredible, beautiful voice. And I grew up with Mario Lanza. I mean, my inspiration came from the recordings of Caruso and The Great Caruso, the film then he did. The Great Caruso was the biggest money-making movie in America that year, and it went on to play all over the world. I was a boy of 10 living in Mexico when I saw it. Mario Lanza truly inspired me and many other young singers too.
My first question when he had auditioned at Tanglewood and they loved him so much and they paid for his studies and everything, I said, please tell me, what was the voice like? What was it like? And they raved that the bigness was from the bottom to the top. It never stopped. It was huge and round and rich. And we were really in awe of Mario Lanza, and he was sort of someone to look up to.
As a soprano, I can only say the tenor voice, per se, is always a very physical experience. The high C from a tenor will always be more exciting than a high C from a soprano. I don't know if that's sexuality, maybe. It's a matter of physics. I don't know, it's his voice, more than most, did have a very sexy character to it.
I also was working with Giacomo Spadoni, who was the chorus master at the Met. And after several years, he went out to Hollywood and became the opera coach for all the people like Mario Lanza and Catherine Grayson and anyone who was going to sing anything big, Anna Maria Alberghetti, in the movies. And of course, he did a lot of work with Mario Lanza on his pictures. And every time I'd work with him, he'd say, oh, if that boy would only sing the opera. He said, if he would only get away from the movies and concentrate on the opera. And he said he would be the biggest opera star that we had had since Caruso.
I loved singing with Mario, and he had it was a warm voice, and yet it had a great thrill and especially at the top of the voice. And he never spared the horses at all. He just let it loose.
All I know about Caruso is the recording. Yeah. And the recording, you know, is not the best of recordings. I never heard Caruso personally, but I can tell you, I heard Lanza. I was in a room with Lanza, and I sang to Lanza. And you know what chutzpah is, don't you?
Chutzpah is what, sir?
Well, the classic version of chutzpah is this chap kills his parents, and he pleads for mercy because he's an orphan. That's classic chutzpah. Yeah. Modern chutzpah is me singing to Mario Lanza. Now, I stood in a room.
I think it's a cheek.
You call it what it is. That's cheek, must be English chutzpah, right?
That's right.
And I stood in front of Lanza and I sang Be My Love to him. Well, I didn't actually sing it to him. I pointed it to him. You know, and hand in hand, we'll find love's promised land. There'll be no one but for me. Nolly. Because you couldn't sing, but he. You know, the song originally went, there'll be no one but you for me eternally. But when he sang the song to me, he had an inner loud pedal inside of him. And when he knew he was startling you, he stepped on the pedal. So he said, He broke my glasses.
He didn't break your glasses.
He broke my... But I lied to you.
Yes, you would.
One tenor who had personality, charisma, and star quality in spades went on to become one of the most influential singers of the 20th century. The first ever crossover artist hardly set foot on an opera stage, but he became one of the biggest movie stars of the 1950s by singing opera. Jose Carreras said that he got into singing because of this guy. The kid from Philadelphia influenced Placido Domingo. Pavarotti would go see his films and go home and try to imitate him in the mirror. Who am I talking about? Well, Mario Lanza, of course.
Now, friends, I don't want to waste a second of your time. I want to introduce to you a star of many opera stages and a great star of Hollywood, Mario Lanza.
Mario Lanza, unlike any classically trained tenor before or since, was genuinely successful as a pop star. Because You're Mine was a million-seller top 10 hit in both Britain and the USA.
Because you're mine, the brightest star I see looks down my love and envies me. Because you're mine, because you're
Mario Lanza was the most famous tenor there ever was, bar none, and together with Enrico Caruso, certainly the most influential.
He was inspiration for all of us. And also he did the life of Caruso. It was the life of the greatest tenor ever, and it was a very interesting movie for people that we were not very, very familiar with opera at that moment.
When you hear him sing those honeyed tones and those very difficult phrases that go high, he manages them technically, absolutely wonderfully, going through the passaggio up to the high note, back through the passaggio, back up. The power of the modern tenor, ignited by Caruso, fueled by Mario Lanza, found new strength with the three tenors.
After I had the possibility to enjoy the movie with Lanza, I didn't want to be an instrumentalist or a conductor or I wanted to be a singer. And then I realized that my voice was a tenor voice, and I was very happy with that, and needless to say.
Caruso's voice inspired a generation of popular tenors before Pavarotti, like movie star Mario Lanza, who played his hero on screen.
With naught save love, and hold my hand.
We go to see one person, you sit there 2 hours to see one person who is singing just tenor aria. And he make a beautiful movie, because I thought that at that time they were beautiful. Even now they are beautiful, because they are the mirror of that time.
My hand and lift mine eyes.
Mario Lanza was a good-looking guy who sang, who had a beautiful tenor, and he sang only the most popular arias and pop songs. And so he popularized them again the way, in a sense, Caruso had done at the turn of the century. He put that quality, that tenor, that big operatic sound into the mainstream.
I believe him when he sings. I believe him. It isn't just a good voice. It's a voice that means something. It's almost therapeutic.
Had he not gone to Hollywood, there is no doubt in my mind that Lanza would have eclipsed Caruso. He lived whatever he sang. The diction, the lyrics were very important. He told the story. It wasn't merely that he was singing notes. He was actually telling you what Rodolfo felt like. This was Lanza's tremendous gift.
Lost
15, 16, 17, who is really the right age in which you take your final decision. Mario Lanza came to Italy with the movie, and I saw all the movie, beginning with the Grande Caruso, the Louisiana Fisherman, and all these kind of things. I saw all of them, and going home, I was trying my voice in front of the mirror like that, and struggling, and trying to imitate him.
But Mario, unlike a lot of opera singers, had an unusual quality. He had a wonderful, wonderful tenor voice and movie star looks and easy charm. Hollywood felt they found something special, which they had. He could sing like Caruso or he could sing like Sinatra, but he knew himself that he had this very rare quality, visceral, almost a sexual quality in his singing, an excitement, a rawness. And the tenor voice has that. And when you get those rare occasions where you have a bigness of voice, a sense of soaring to a beautiful high C, it's tremendously exciting. He came in for a lot of criticism from serious music critics who saw that simply that he was wasting his talent. The way Mario looked at it, he was bringing opera to millions of people through his films than he could ever hope to reach on the opera stage. And of course that's quite true. He did. The film The Great Caruso influenced a whole generation of operatic superstars. Pavarotti, for example, recently confessed to having watched it over 50 times.
I think it was one of the great voices of our time. He did privately sing once for the professors at the Scala Opera House in Milan, and I think their opinion was that it was a wonderful voice for full-time opera. They would have liked to have had maybe 2 years with him.
Mario's career was already crumbling when Peter Pritchard became his agent in 1957. It was a 24-hour-a-day job.
The first impression of the man is just a magical man, wonderful, warm, kind, a great guy to be with, a man's man, fun, but after a few drinks, he could turn very ugly. It's just one of those unfortunate things. He drank a lot and he couldn't handle his liquor. He became violent.
Good evening. Welcome to the Mario Lanza Show, with the music of Ray Sinatra and his orchestra, transcribed, and our special guest, the delightful international artist, Miss Giselle Mackenzie.
When I first heard that I was going to be working a lot with Mario, I was a little bit, I felt a little funny because I had heard that he was a very salty talker. He could put many a sailor to shame. And as far as I was concerned, Mario was a total gentleman to me. And in fact, when he was around me, he spoke like a priest. So I didn't see the salty sailor type in him.
In my recent concert tour across the United States, I was deeply gratified at everyone's warm response to good music, to the better composers, and that is just what we are going to try to bring to you. Not only the popular songs, but selections from the concert stage, and from time to time, one of the great arias.
That first summer was kind of exciting, and it was fun. It was a brand new show, and everybody was all excited, and it was really a happy time for Mario, and especially happy for me as one of his guests.
But his voice was, I've always said that I think Mario Lanza probably could have been the American Caruso. He could have had any opera house in this country that he wanted if he could have learned.
Mario Lanza chose a film career, but in his heart, it was not a clear-cut decision. He always intended to pursue the path not taken, the opera.
Mario, I know that La Scala often wanted to get you to open their season in Italy as the first American star. Now that you are in Italy...
Actually, I was asked in 1949 to be the first American to open the La Scala season, but movie commitments and one thing or another just prevented me from doing this. Now, this year, I'll be able to fulfill this suppressed desire.
Could Mario Lanza have become a great opera singer? Well, he was a man born to sing opera from a stage like this, but he only did that once. In April 1948, a young, unknown Mario sang 2 performances as Pinkerton in Madame Butterfly at the New Orleans Opera. The next morning, the local reviewer, to his credit, referred to the superbly romantic leading tenor with his good looks and exceptionally beautiful voice. Suppose for a moment that after Madame Butterfly, Mario Lanza had continued on the stage and turned aside the offers from Hollywood. He might have become a true star of grand opera, avoiding the stress and pressures of Hollywood, and perhaps be alive today. But could Lanza's temperament have survived the Spartan self-discipline and study and the high-powered international competition of the opera? The successes and tragedies of his life will be forgotten, but his glorious golden voice will not be. The legacy of Mario Lanza passes on to its 3rd generation of listeners and to young tenors everywhere.
It is always a challenge to go on stage and to sing for an audience. But to go on stage, to the stage of the Royal Albert Hall, a place where Lanza sang, and to pay a tribute to the man and to the artist, and remembering this little boy that have seen the great Caruso, of course, he has been a tremendous inspiration, not only for me, for many, many people. I would like to say thank you to Mario Lanza for what he gave me as a man and as an artist. And I'm sure that this is also what these millions of admirers, these millions of people that had the opportunity to hear his voice in his records, in the movies or live, would like to say as well. Thank you, Mario Lanza. Thank you.
Benedictus fructus